Hi, I'm Taylor Boone, and I'm incredibly excited to be sharing this, what I've called my own little gold nugget with you guys is Edie Osborne. She's created an app called BELove, and when she shared with me back in January what she was doing, this was before the pandemic. This was uh, the before everything, basically. This is when 2020 was going to be like the year, right? It was the 2020 year, and everyone went out into the world with these big expectations, not knowing that things were going to be derailed. And hindsight, I look back at what you told me in January. It's never been more needed than now. So after you watch and listen to what Edie's about to share with you, grab your phones and go get this app. It'll change your life, but it will change our world. And that's really what we need right now is change. So Edie, I have one question. Why?
Wow, it's a big question because it started when I was a child, and I think a lot of us have this deep core of knowing that we're better than how we're showing up right now as a human species, and it has been a driving force in my life, my entire life. And here I am now in my 60s, getting to do something that probably my 3-year-old little girl would have thrown a tantrum over if she didn't get to do it. And it's taken me a long time to finally be able to release this. But I truly believe that love is our source code and that we have been corrupted by a malware of fear for generations. It's not anybody's fault, but it is everybody's fault line that we default so readily to fear and separation and scarcity thinking rather than the true connectedness that I believe we all are. And we are connected through our source code. Our bodies fail to thrive without love and connection. Just look at how much people are suffering right now with not being able to hug each other, not being able to be with each other. There's a visceral, physical unwellness that comes from our lack of physical connection. And I would offer that it's not just a lack of physical connection, but it's also for many generations been a fear-based connection that we've lived on guard with each other because we're operating from a system and a construct, a level of consciousness that is not in alignment with our true self. And so a year and a half ago, I was sitting very still, recovering from a ruptured Achilles. And I'm not somebody who sits still. And for about 3 years, I'd been trying to retire from a previous life. And yet I figured out so many ways to stay busy, and none of them brought any stillness to my life. And so this ruptured Achilles was a real invitation to sit very, very still. And I accepted the invitation. And on April 26th, I got what I call a download. Some would call it divine inspiration, creative genius, call it whatever you want. What I know is in a matter of minutes, I understood that I was supposed to bring forward an app that would bring us together to take a top of the hour breath with one another. We can't seem to agree on too much these days, but I always say to people, look, we can agree to disagree on everything, but we have to agree on this one thing if we're ever going to escape the suicide pact that we've entered into as a species. And it's showing up right now that people are willing to diminish the value of life to get back to work for all kinds of reasons. Scarcity and fear is driving a lot of that, and a reality that we do not have a baseline of human dignity established in our institutions, and our human infrastructure is woefully inadequate to tend the human experience in a dignified, loving way. And so I began to dream about the app, and the beginning, BELove. People kept saying, oh, you're calling it beloved. And it's like, no, it's BE for butterfly effect of love, because that's what I saw was this beautiful expansion of love across the planet. If we could just not agree on everything, but just agree on this one thing, that love is our source code, and that at the top of every hour, we're going to take a breath of loving intention with each other. And so I sat there for a few months thinking, well, that's a grand idea. And who the heck am I to do something like this, of course, because I'm not a technology person. And, you know, I don't really have access to those sorts of people in my life. And yet the right people showed up. A funding source showed up. A woman came in and said, I got your back on this. I so agree that we need to breathe together. And what I think hooked her in was, I said, life begins and ends with breath, and it is the intention with which we breathe every breath in between that makes the heaven or hell of our existence. And so it's about loving intention. So the app is launching right now, and it's you know, it's been like giving birth to something, quite honestly. There have been so many times where I thought it's going to launch today, and then we found more bugs and more challenges, but it finally is going to launch. And it's been a really sacred movement for me to usher this into being. So the app has some unique features. Can I tell about the features? Because it's kind of
please
cool.
do. Please
So
do.
the top of every hour, your phone is going to go off and you're going to get this notification. But it isn't just a notification. It comes with a very unique tone, which is 528 hertz, which is the frequency of love. So already it's not going to sound or act like your phone normally does, right? It's got this profoundly unique tone, such that when you're in a public place and it goes off on somebody else's phone, you're going to know instantly that they have the same perspective on the universe that you do, because they're there to breathe more loving intention as well. And in that moment, I can't wait for it to happen. I think the day that it does, when I'm in a public setting and the phone goes off and I look across the room and somebody else, it's all the differences, all the separation that we've allowed ourselves to believe is true about skin color and sexual orientation and other diverse ways that we express as humans. All that goes away in that moment, because you're breathing consciously, mindfully, to bring more love into the world together. So that's pretty cool. So the top of the hour prompt will go off, but it's more than that, because what happens is you'll get, and I'll show you, this is kind of cool. I'll light her up here for you in a second. What happens is that top of the hour brings on this morpho butterfly. And this butterfly takes you through a minute of gentle breath work to just ground your body and take you into this quiet stillness. And for those that have been testing it for the last few months with me, so you can even hear the tone if I bring it in louder here. That's the 528 hertz tone,
Wow.
right? That's the frequency of love. And so people have been practicing this with me for several months now, and it's become so habitualized in our biology now that I don't even have to look at the clock anymore, and I can just feel that that top of the hour breath is coming, and my body wants to tune to it because it softens all the anxiety. It gets me to slow down, be mindful, get up, move away from my desk for a minute, take a breath. So if that's all it did, it'd be great. But there's this feedback mechanism, like we need to be witnessed collectively in this breath. I was just reading Charles Eisenstein's work this morning, his book, The More Beautiful World We All Know Is Possible, right? And he said, it's one thing to be an island of consciousness. What we need now, and these are my words, is we need an ocean of consciousness where all those who are awake and present start to witness each other. So the app goes off, you touch that button, and within a minute and a half, you'll get feedback. You'll get to see how many people are breathing at the top of the hour with you across the world, which is like, whoa, this is like those global meditations that happen, you know, the Dalai Lama leads something, or some great spiritual teacher for a few hours on a specific day and time. But this is every day, 24/7, 365. We are going to take a breath together, and we are going to remember that we are human beings who default to the source code of love. And that's not all. You get to have your own passion pod. So Taylor, or, you know, Edie or John or Susan gets to reach out to 100 of their friends, and you'll get to see who in your passion pod, in your soul pod, is breathing with you at the top of the hour as well. So it's a way to stay connected at a time where being connected is especially hard, right? And then
Right.
the third layer is passion pods, where I've taken 5 areas of existential concern, and you can just with a little toggle switch, push a button and say, I want to breathe for human rights. I want to breathe for civil rights. I want to breathe for reimagining education right now. I want to breathe for new government and policy. So we begin to create a new connection point around love as an activist to create. We have groups on our Facebook page where we can come together under those passion pods and begin to share our ideas, because I believe that across the planet people are getting wisdom codes, downloads, ideas, and inspiration for how to solve the problems that we're facing right now. And this is a way to bring people together in a collaborative environment across the planet to breathe more life into our intention and putting our intention in alignment with our attention. So that's the app. It's simple. You take a breath, you get some feedback. But what I'm hoping is that it starts to build momentum. And the goal here is to reach 3.5% of our population. And the reason that's important is sociologists have studied resistance movements and consciousness shifts in populations and found that it only takes 3.5% of a population dedicated to a particular consciousness or construct to shift the entire population. And that seems outrageous to think only 3.5%, but it's the level of dedication. Most people are not dedicated. They're just going along to get along. It's stepping out of that mode of going along to get along to speak our truth and own our truth out loud. So taking a breath is a nonviolent, beautiful way to reflect that we are going to, as the mother of 4 children, breathe, give birth to this new world. And I think, just a note on COVID, I really truly believe that we're going to go through about 2 years of expansion and contraction and expansion and contraction until we figure out that the difference between free will and freedom. Free will is the divine choice that we are all granted with our human experience, but freedom is only possible when everybody is free. And so our free will, our choices must line up with the greater good in order for us to have true freedom across the planet. So this butterfly effect starts with each one of us taking that breath, the top of the hour, day in, day out. This is not a sprint. It's definitely a marathon, but giving birth to anything worthwhile is. So that's my why. It's a grandiose dream, and I'm relying on the world to step up and start to build their soul pods so that you can check in with your tribe, check in with your crew, make sure everybody's breathing. You'll be able to see if somebody hasn't checked in a few days. You'll know, maybe somebody's struggling. It's just a really powerful mycelial web that we're building through breath.
I have to say I'm so grateful we met. And I look back how we met through your daughter. You have 4 amazing kids that are incredibly talented and brilliant beings, and I can see why. I really got to know you in January, and I realized what a strong manifester you are. You were incredibly strong, and you reminded me how strong I am. I had forgotten how strong I was at manifesting, and I realized I manifested where I am living. I live a mile from the ocean. I manifested the most brilliant partner and spouse I could ever have in my life. I manifested the most amazing child and manifested the most beautiful place I could have ever been married and the most beautiful being to marry me and Ronnie. And that was you. And we went out there to see your location, to see if it was going to fit. Magic was just unfolding left and right that day. And I'll start to cry if I go into it too much. But you said that day what you wanted this app to be. You said, I want someone to be on the subway and their phone goes off and they look down and they see a dot, and they see that dot multiply and multiply and multiply, and then they see that someone on that same part of the subway is taking a breath with them. And there's a connection there. There's immediate, you could be a complete stranger, and I'm now connected. You said that in January, and now July,
Here we are.
created it,
Yeah.
but you've created it at a time that it's never been more crucial to be connected. I can't physically walk over and hug you, but I can be so connected with you. And I think we're starting to see this shift of we can be more connected. And I honestly have felt more connected in the last couple of months. I feel like I went through a shift of going, I can be as connected as I want to be. It's my choice.
That's right.
And it
That's
can
right.
be through a phone call, it can be through a text, it can be through a Zoom. And even in my own work, taking that shift and realizing I can still create. And I think when you're saying the next 2 years of this almost contraction that we're going to be going through, I think is because it is, we are birthing something new. Something had to change at the rate we were going, at the disconnect we were having, right? Families were sitting at a table and not even looking at each other. There was a true disconnect where now I know if I'm out in public and I have a mask on, I can't be on my phone talking to you. I need to be looking eye contact with you, and I need to be projecting my voice a little bit more so that I know you hear me. So I look at that going, that had to happen for this to be put down, for me to look right at you. And you know what I hear when I go out, and if I have to run to the grocery store or to the bank, I hear thank you. I hear thank you so much more with meaning.
Yeah. Yeah. I was wearing my mask at the grocery store a couple months ago when we were first wearing masks. And the guy at the store, he was so cute. He looked at me and he goes, I can tell you're smiling. I can tell in your eyes you're smiling. And it was like, I bet he hasn't looked in somebody's eyes like that for a long time. You know, it's not, our connectedness is not in our physical proximity. It's in our authenticity with each other, our vulnerability with each other. And this virus makes us all vulnerable. It's a time to really reach out and witness each other, see each other. There is no greater gift we can give to each other. You know, what you described, the subway moment, I call a Joji moment. We all know that the old expression FOMO, fear of missing out. I'm flipping it on its head. I call it Joji, joy of joining in. That, you know, when that tone goes off with that 528 hertz sound to it, it's going to go off in 4 minutes. Feel that go off. But it's a Joji moment. It's a moment where we say, I'm not hanging back. I am going to join in, and I will go first. And I may look a little foolish taking a breath in public, slowing down. But, you know, Meredith, our both you and I are big fans of her. This is my daughter, of course. She called me yesterday and she goes, Mom, I was having a really hard moment, and all of a sudden my phone went off and I got the 528s. And because I've been in practice with this breath, all of a sudden my whole nervous system went from anxious to calm. Mm-hmm. And imagine now that we're trying to reset our communal nervous system back to loving and trusting each other. Our nervous systems are wired for fear. That FOMO has really gotten into our system. And so it's going to take time. And that's why it can't happen just every couple months with a guru on the mountaintop. It has to happen with the guru inside of each of us at the top of every hour, reminding ourselves that we are beings of love and light. And we're here to bring more love and light into the world. And this breath is our way, my way of offering an opportunity for us to witness across the world. Nobody's ever done this before. There's breathing apps, there's meditation apps, but nobody's got a feedback mechanism, a witnessing mechanism built into it. So my hope and dream, somebody said, how will you know if this is a success? And it'll be that some speaker will be at the front of a room. I'm calling in some high level influencers here to be at the front of the room, and at the top of the hour, get everyone in that room to stop and take a breath with them. Then I will know that the app has had the impact, because it will It will ripple out like the butterfly wave into groups of people, and then communities of people, and then countries of people, and the world of humans who really, we're all the same at our core. We all have to take a breath, and it's the intention with which we take that breath that creates the heaven or hell of our existence.
Well, I know you are one strong manifester. I mean, you manifested this app. You were talking about this app in January and what all needed to take place, and here we are in July, and it's here. So you are one hell of a manifester. So I know what your want is going to happen. I think it's going to be even bigger than someone standing in front of a room full of people. I think who knows where this is going to go, but it's going to be big, and I know collectively this is going to bring us together to cause the shift. I shouldn't say cause, create the shift our world needs.
And I would just even add a couple, create the conditions for the shift to happen without suffering, because it's going to happen. One way or the other, we're going to see the collapse of old stories. And so if you're resisting this, I know I had 4 babies at home. If you try and hold that baby in, you can't. And you hurt your body in the meantime. If we can find ease in this movement of breathing together, you know, getting out of the hyperventilation of fear to just a soft, resonant breath of love and acceptance for what is in this moment, we're going to have far less suffering and more readiness. Oh, there we go. So top of the hour, push the button, and we take that breath together. So it goes on for a minute, and we won't, but in just another minute and a half, then right now you can see there's just a 1 on the screen. That's because it's just registering me. 1 is the loneliest number, right? But by Friday, it won't just be me anymore taking this breath. It'll be lots and lots and lots of other humans. And they can do that at the Apple Store or the Google Store. It's 99 cents. We're going to take some of that money and pour it into other nonprofits so that our nonprofit of One Breath can be the wind beneath the wings, not to be too corny here, of other not-for-profits. And I want to just plant a seed that we want to use the app as a fundraising mechanism. So version 2 will be whatever your cause is. Let's say it's Sierra Club, my beautiful forest background here. Sierra Club coming online and saying, look, everybody who breathes for this week, you can donate a dime at a time to Sierra Club. Now, a dime at a time doesn't sound very much, but when you get hundreds and thousands of people doing that over the course of a couple of weeks, now all of a sudden we're moving, you know, dimes from one bank account to another bank account, and of One Breath is the mechanism that'll see that, that'll bridge that movement of capital towards healing modalities, healing tools, healing movements across the planet. So it's just the start.
It is just the
And
start.
we're off to the races.
Beautiful start. So download the app today. It's completely affordable. Put the links here at the very end to find the app and join in this breath. And let's be a part of BELove.
Yeah, we call it a breathtaking movement of love. So thank you, Taylor, for allowing me to share this vision with the beautiful humans who are listening in. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. I appreciate all you do. I appreciate the being you are and the love you pour out to all. You really do. You pour it out to every single person. So I appreciate that.